All right, so we are starting with the polling data. And before anyone says the polls are fake, just hear the actual numbers out because it's not one poll, it's not one liberal outlet, it's multiple polls across the spectrum, even if it's on Fox News, all pointing in the same direction. Let's go through it together.
Donald Trump is now the least popular president ever. He's gotten the worst numbers in history from a number of polls. Listen to Harry Enton.
So that means he's going to lose midterms
on CNN explaining it here.
And what are we talking about? We're talking about a complete collapse of the floor. Look at this. Republicans' net approval of Trump on inflation. You know, you go back when he was running for re-election back in 2024 for term number one. Look at that net approval rating. It was plus 68 points in terms of how Republicans viewed inflation and Trump in term number one. Look at this. Look at this. Collapse. Minus 5 points. Now, this is just the Ipsos polling, I will note. But look at this. Even in Fox, he was at minus 2 points. So it's not alone. He is on the wrong side of the ledger. And this is not voters overall, let me remind you.
Hold on, plus 68 to minus 5, that is not a dip, that's not a rough patch. That is 73 points collapse among Republicans. Remember this, among Republicans. On the single issue Trump built his entire comeback on, inflation. That is his own base saying, and we don't trust him on this anymore. The people are saying that's insane. That's not good for President Trump.
This is Republican voters. That call absolutely coming from inside the House on the key issue of inflation. There are now multiple polls showing that Donald John Trump is underwater within his own Republican Party.
That's a 73-point swing. I just did the math right now.
That is
73-point swing.
And 3. And I actually drew that pretty gosh darn well.
All right, Harry, the phone is ringing.
Hello?
And someone's calling about gas prices.
Yes.
Who's calling and what are they saying?
It's Republicans who are calling again, and they are saying that they are underwater again when it comes to this particular issue. Look at gas prices. Okay, GOP, Trump net approval on fuel and gas prices. You go back to last summer, look at this. It was plus 51. Look at it now, minus 4. Again, what are we talking about here? We're talking about a 55-point shift away from the President of the United States on the key issue of gas prices.
All right, so these numbers are historically bad. These are devastating numbers. Think about everybody included in those numbers over all of this period of time and how we are seeing historic reversals. And we also have new polling data from, these are net approval ratings, and we'll put those up on the screen. And you see that these are just disaster numbers. You see a thin red line, which are Trump's first term numbers. You see the gray line, which is Biden's numbers. And then you see the thicker red line. And so to understand these numbers, you have to go all the way back to the worst of Biden's moments, the worst of Biden's worst moments, the peak of the inflation panic and all of that. And Trump's numbers are even worse than that. And Trump's numbers are
that's
worse
a huge
now than
drop.
they were when you had all of the COVID deaths happening as Trump looked the other way and said, stop the testing. These are some of the worst numbers we have ever seen. Now, what's MAGA's reaction? It's always kind of the same. It's, you know, the polls are fake, the media is corrupt,
Yeah, the ABC is corrupt, the CNN is corrupt, only Fox News. But now Fox News is also showing drop in the polls about President Trump.
samples are rigged, the pollsters are biased, whatever excuse they can come up with. But there's a point when, I mean, listen, every major poll, even ones that lean right, like Rasmussen, they point in the same direction. You might say, well, the numbers are a little different. Yes, but they're all pointing in the same direction, which is Trump is rapidly declining in approval. And this could be a disaster for Republicans in November if we make it so. One thing we've learned, and this goes back to Clinton, but you could go back a long way. When people are struggling economically and they know it, they are not going to be convinced by politicians telling them everything's awesome. And in fact, they might get angry when politicians try to tell them everything's awesome. And they go, oh, yeah, well, wait until you see how I vote. I'll show you how awesome things are. Gas prices are very high. Credit card debt is ballooning. Auto loan delinquencies are surging. Housing affordability has not improved. Americans are financially exhausted. They're emotionally exhausted. They're psychologically exhausted.
Yeah, exactly. Gas prices are high, credit card debt ballooning, auto loan delinquencies surging, housing affordability, no improvement. You can debate the cause of each one individually. But as a combined picture, what an average American household is feeling right now, there is a very heavy list, and voters don't separate them. They feel all of it at once.
Very dangerous environment. And then you see the opposite direction. You want line go up. What you've got with Trump's approval is line go down. And voters are watching and they're like, what is Trump doing? Bizarre cabinet meetings saying he doesn't care about gas prices and he doesn't think about Americans' financial situations. Confused rambling.
Yeah, he said, I don't care about the financial condition of Americans. I remember that. President Trump really said
Stories
that.
about grass and aliens, extraterrestrial, imaginary social security fraud conspiracies of 125-year-olds getting benefits. What? That is not going to win you any votes. And if we go back to the promises that were made, Trump was going to be, supposedly, we didn't believe it, but Trump was going to be the guy who looked powerful, fixed everything, was never tired, never looked weak. It's a disastrous presidency.
Never tired, but now he's sleeping in every single event. He's always sleeping live on
And
camera.
he falls asleep on camera multiple times per week.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same thing I was saying.
So if you're an American in Detroit or Des Moines or Tallahassee and you look around, you go, gas is expensive, prices have gone up instead of down, and Trump is bragging about how the reflecting pool that he's redoing for 13 million is longer than the Empire State Building is tall. What? And he's bragging about how great his cognitive tests are without having the conscience of saying, wait a second, maybe it's bad that I keep being tested cognitively. No, Americans see it. And I don't know when the breaking point will be, but that's exactly why these numbers matter so much, because there's a deeper problem than the daily chaos. It used to be people are going about their days. Trump says something wacky. Oh, that's weird. People go back to going about their days. There wasn't necessarily a connection between the two. Now people are looking around and going, am I better off now than I was 4 years ago? No, I'm worse off now, notably so. And did anyone make promises about how things were going to be going? Yes, Trump made promises. And has he kept those promises? No, he hasn't. And does he seem to care? And then you turn on the TV and it's Trump going, we're going to release stuff about aliens. And I also don't consider gas prices and the increase is peanuts and it's worth it because of Iran.
Yeah.
People don't buy it. And so voters are, forget about
So gas prices are peanuts for you. Do you agree with the statement of President Trump? Like, gas prices are peanuts for
being
everyone.
inspired. They are angry. They're exhausted. They're embarrassed by what's going on. We need to make it an electoral disaster in November. On the bonus show, could Trump's IRS case be reopened to look at fraud? Some say yes. More people are going hungry now than at the height of the pandemic. It's disgusting and it's optional. Doesn't have to happen. And there are allies of the president wanting a $250 bill with Trump's face on it. Dear God. What would it take to make it a reality? All of those stories and more on today's bonus show. Sign up at joinpacman.com.
President Trump is facing a polling collapse, not just with independents or Democrats, but with his own Republican base on the two main issues he explicitly ran on, inflation, and the second one is gas prices. That's a 73-point and 55-point reversal respectively. The historical comparison, worse than Biden worse and worse than COVID as well. It actually puts the scale in the context that deeper political danger isn't just the numbers, it's a disconnect. Voters are experiencing real financial stress, real financial crisis, and the response coming from White House isn't just landing as a relief.